Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters. I'm your host Mitch, glad to have you here. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about Commander on a budget. Today's episode is going to be Commander Quick Take. On episodes like these, I give you my initial take on a newly spoiled Commander from an upcoming set. I'm going to talk about a potential direction to take that Commander and possible cards to use for that build. I'll also go over some possible upgrades and similar Commanders to this one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. And while you're at it, subscribe and review our podcast as well. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. But before we really jump into this, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. On episodes like these, it is just an initial quick take. This Commander is as new to me as it is to you. And because of that, I don't have a finalized deck built for this Commander yet. So the direction that I talk about today might not be the same one that I choose for a deck tech. And because of that, some of the cards that I'm going to mention might not be in that deck either. Alright, now that we're on the same page, let's get into it. Today's Commander Quick Take is on Nylea Sharp-Eyed. Nylea Sharp-Eyed is a 5/6 indestructible god that has, as long as your devotion to green is less than 5, Nylea isn't a creature. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And by paying 2 and a green, you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you put into your hand, otherwise you may put into your graveyard. Now we saw Nylea last time we were in Theros, and we'll tackle those comparisons in a bit. First, let's talk about this new version specifically. A 5/6 indestructible for 4 mana is a pretty good deal, but it's still not the biggest that we've seen so far. This god can do 2 things that are very valuable in Commander though. First off, it saves us mana by reducing the cost of our creature spells. 1 mana per creature we cast can really add up throughout the game. And then it can also draw us a card if a creature's on top. Green's got plenty of ways to ramp so we can cast a ton of creatures and then get more off the top with this. It's a Commander that can generate a good amount of value if we build this deck correctly. To get the most out of this Commander, we really want to rely heavily on creatures. First off, that's going to ensure that we're going to save mana on the majority of our spells. Secondly, it's going to give us a higher percentage chance of hitting a creature off the top. And the higher we can get that percentage, the better. Now, I'm not saying that you can't use any non-creature spells in this deck, but you really have to pick and choose and think about what you're doing when you're putting those cards in. There might be a creature out there that has a similar effect to a spell, so you might want to use that instead. So now let's talk about some cards to consider for this deck. First up, ramping for this deck is not only going to help you cast more creatures, but also help you get more creatures off the top of your library. And the mana reduction that Nylea provides makes these creatures even more efficient at helping ramp you. For example, with Wood Elves, it's a 1/1 Elf Scout that costs 2 and a green. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a forest card and put that onto the battlefield, then you shuffle your library. With our Commander in play though, this is only going to cost us 2 mana instead of 3. And in essence, it actually only costs us 1 mana since that forest comes into play untapped. On top of creatures that ramp us by 1 though, we want some big ramping effects too, like Karametra's Acolyte. It's a 1/4 human druid that costs 3 and a green. It has tapped to add an amount of green to your mana pool equal to your devotion to green. With a mono green deck focused on creatures, that devotion can get up there quickly. Next up, we can run something like Nylea Channelers, which serves multiple purposes for this deck. It's a 2/2 Elf Druid Shaman for 1 green. It says play with the top card of your library revealed. As long as the top card of your library is a creature card, Nylea Channelers gets +3/+3. And as long as the top card of your library is a land card, Nylea Channelers has tap, add 2 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool. So essentially this is either going to be a 5/5 or a mana dork that taps for 2. But perhaps most importantly, lets us know what the top card of our library is. Because of that, we can know exactly when to use our Commander's ability. We're going to know when it's a creature so we won't whiff when we activate it. And if it's not a creature, we know we can use our mana for other things instead. Another card that lets us see the top card of our library is Garruk's Horde. It's a 7/7 beast with trample that costs 5 green. It says play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. So this card actually takes it a step further by essentially making the top card of our library an extension of our hand as long as it's a creature card. Now most of the time casting that creature off the top is going to be better, but there are also going to be times when activating our Commander's ability is going to be the right choice. Next up there's Dryad Greenseeker, which can help us out in multiple ways. It's a 1/3 Dryad for 1 and a green, and we can tap it to look at the top card of our library. If it's a land card, we can reveal it and put into our hand. This can come in really handy if we have something like Garruk's Horde in play. If the top card of our library is a land card, we can just use Dryad Greenseeker to get that land off the top and into our hand. The next card very well might be a creature that we can get. But if something like Garruk's Horde isn't in play, we can just use the Greenseeker to find out what the top card of our library is. Again, if it's a land, it goes into our hand, and if not, we can use our Commander to get a creature off the top. Something simple like Inquisitive Puppet can also be effective too. It's a 0/2 construct that costs 1, and when it comes into play, we scry 1. So basically with our Commander, we can cast this for free, and that scry 1 can help us figure out what the top card of our library is. If it's a land, we can put it on the bottom, and if it's a creature, we know we can activate our Commander. but we can also use other creatures to ensure that we get the right creature on top as well. Monvoli Beast Tracker is a 2/1 human scout that costs 1 green. When it comes into play, we search our library for a creature card with Death Touch, Hexproof, Reach, or Trample and reveal it, and shuffle our library and put that card on top of it. So essentially in this deck, this is a tutor on top for 2 mana. Now we are limited to what creature we can get with this, but there are going to be plenty of great options. One tutor that doesn't limit us though is Brutalizer Exarch. It's a 3/3 cleric that costs 5 and a green. It has when it enters the battlefield, choose 1. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it, or put target non-creature permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. So this card is really flexible and come in huge in this deck. Outside of our commander though, we want some other ways to gain card advantage like Regal Force. It's a 5/5 elemental that costs 4 green. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each green creature you control. This can draw us a ton of cards and be another body in play. An ETB like this can come in really handy in a mono green deck, getting us the cards that we need to keep going. Another creature with a great ETB comes with Reclamation Sage. It's a 2/1 elf shaman that costs 2 and a green. When it comes into play, we're going to destroy target artifact or enchantment. With our commander in play, this has the exact same cost as Naturalize and we get a body with it. So that means that we can really abuse this ETB with something like Temur Sabertooth. It's a 4/3 cat that costs 2 green. By paying 1 and a green, we can return another creature we control back to its owner's hand, and if we do, Temur Sabertooth gains indestructible until end of turn. So this creature has a repeatable effect that bounces a creature and protects itself. We're going to be running plenty of creatures in this deck with powerful ETBs, and this can really help us abuse them. We can draw a ton of cards again and again with Regal Force, or take out a lot of artifacts and enchantments with Reclamation Sage. It essentially allows us to utilize our toolbox again and again. A potential finisher in this deck can be something like Overwhelming Stampede. It's a sorcery for 3 green and says until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Although it's not a creature, it can still be a fantastic finisher for this deck. With our budget, we also have access to some creatures with a similar but smaller effect as well. But now let's talk about some out-of-budget cards and our potential upgrades. First up, there's Pathbreaker Ibex, which comes in at $6.86. It's a 3/3 goat that costs 4 green. It has whenever it attacks, creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So this is basically a repeatable Overwhelming Stampede, but on a body. And again, this effect being on a creature is a big advantage for this deck. We can get it off the top with our commander, and it helps in other ways too. Another upgrade to consider is Courser of Crufix, which comes in at $5.76. It's a 2/4 centaur that costs 1 green. It says play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library if it's a land card, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So this not only lets us know what the top card of our library is, but it also lets us play that card if it's a land. Like Eric's Horde, it lets us not only extend our hand, but also dig for creatures. And then we've got Vizier of the Menagerie, which comes in at $4.22. It's a 3/4 Naga Cleric that costs 3 and a green. It says you may look at the top card of your library, you may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast creature spells. So this is somewhat like a cheaper version of Garruk's Horde. Unlike Garruk's Horde and Courser of Crufix, it doesn't make us reveal that top card though. Since it's just letting us look at the top card, only we know what that card is. This is definitely a better effect since our opponents won't see what threats are coming. But that doesn't mean that those other cards don't have value for this deck. And then another card to consider is Eternal Witness, which comes in at $3.49. It's a 2/1 human shaman that costs 1 green. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target card from your graveyard to your hand. This is a great ETB on a body, and it's even better in this deck because it's only going to cost us 2 mana. So it's essentially a regrowth that comes with a 2/1. Another creature with a great ETB is Bane of Progress, which comes in at $7.06. It's a 2/2 elemental for 4 green and says when it enters the battlefield, destroy your artifacts and enchantments, and you put a ++1 counter on Bane of Progress for each permanent destroyed this way. So this card can really set our opponents back by really not affecting us much at all. We're not going to be running too many enchantments or artifacts in this deck outside of Nylea, who's indestructible anyways. And a final upgrade to consider is Seedborn Muse, which comes in at $5.91. It's a 2/4 spirit for 3 green. It says untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. This card can be incredible in this deck. Not only is this going to untap our lands, but it also untaps our mana dorks too. And with our commander in play, we'll always have a place to dump all that mana. This can help us dig further and further into our deck, getting more creatures into our hand and helping us cast them too. We can focus on using all of our mana on casting creatures during our turn and then activating our commander on our opponent's turns. But now that we've gone over cards to consider and potential upgrades, let's talk about similar commanders. The first one up is going to be the first iteration of this god, and that is Nylea, God of the Hunt. This Nylea is a 6/6 indestructible god that costs 3 and a green. It has other creatures you control have trample, and by paying 3 and a green, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. So both Nyleas have the exact same converted mana cost and are very similar because this one is a 6/6 and the other is a 5/6. But when it comes to their abilities, they are very different. This Nylea gives your creatures trample and can pump them for a cost, whereas the new Nylea focuses on being more efficient and keeping your hand full. In my opinion, the new one is definitely the better one of the two. Another somewhat similar commander to compare to is another god with Ronus the Indomitable. Like the old Nylea, this one focused more so on creature power. That being said, you still might be able to find some gems in this deck that you can use. Another commander to look to is another one of the gods with Karametra, God of Harvest. She has whenever you cast a creature spell, you may search your library for a forest or plains card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. So this deck can also focus heavily on creatures as well as ramping. Outside the gods though, another commander to look to is Goreclaw, Terror of Kalsisma. Goreclaw has creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater cost 2 less to cast. So much like Nylea, this also reduces the cost of creature spells that you're casting. This does it by 2, but only for specific creatures. And finally, there's Animar Soul of Elements, which says whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Animar Soul of Elements, and creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Animar. Animar is definitely going to reduce the cost of your creatures more, but there still might be some things that you can take from it. Again, it might be running certain creatures with ETBs that can be really helpful. And if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you check out my most recent quick take here. And with that, this show is coming to a close. So in the comments below, give me your take on this newly spoiled commander. Would you take it in a similar direction or in a completely different one? And make sure you're following us on social media for more updates and sneak peeks on future episodes. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons who help make this show possible. I truly couldn't do any of this without your support. If you want to support this channel directly, consider becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, including being able to vote on future commanders for deck techs. There are even tiers where you get your own personalized deck tech dedicated to you. You can check out all the Patreon tiers and rewards at patreon.com/commandersquarters. If you haven't already, make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. Here at the Commander's Quarters, we're all about budget commander. So while you're at it, go ahead and check out some of our other types of episodes. And with that, I'm out of here. Thanks again and have a good one.